Hello guys, welcome to Mr. Story Channel. Whether you're here for the juicy drama, hilarious fails, or the most wholesome moments, we've got it all. So, grab your popcorn, sit back, and let's dive into the best stories on Reddit. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss our videos. It's time for our first story. I'm 34 male, found out my wife, 35 female, has been lying to me, and 3 out of our 4 kids aren't mine. How do I move forward from here? I just discovered that my wife has been lying to me for 14 years, and 3 of our 4 kids aren't mine. A bit of background. I married my high school girlfriend after finding out she was pregnant with our son. We had been dating for 2 years at that point. She graduated a year before me and went to college. During her freshman year, over Christmas break, she told me she was pregnant. When we shared the news with our families, mine was not supportive and refused to help. It was similar on her side, at least at first. I wanted to do the right thing, so I dropped out of school, got my GED, and joined the military to provide for us so she could stay in school. We had a small wedding, and with the help of her older stepbrother, 38 male, her family came around and accepted that we were keeping the baby. Her family helped with childcare while I was starting my military career, allowing my wife to return to school. For years later, she graduated with her degree. Since my son was born, fatherhood has been incredible. I never thought my calling in life would be to be a dad, but I've loved every minute of it. All the past worries felt small compared to the joy my wife and kids brought me. Fast forward 13 years, and we now have 4 kids together, 3 boys and 1 girl. My wife works remotely as the head of her department, and I'm out of the military now, working in a similar field at the same company, also remotely. We take trips together, both as a couple and as a family, and as far as I knew, we had a great marriage. We were there for each other through everything. Then I found out the truth. Recently, my son has been interested in learning more about our heritage and family tree, especially after studying DNA and inherited traits at school. For his birthday, I bought him a DNA test from MyHeritage, and I took one with him since there was a deal for 2 tests. A week ago, we got the results back, and it turns out he's not my biological son. What's worse is that MyHeritage shows potential DNA matches, and I know who his real father is, my wife's stepbrother, the same one who convinced her family to support us. I was devastated. In my shock, I took my other kids for DNA tests, and it turns out that, except for my 4-year-old daughter, none of them are biologically mine. I'm at a complete loss. I feel beyond hurt, but I'm trying not to let it show for the sake of my kids. The only person who knows besides me is my oldest son, since we opened the results together. He's been distant since then, and it breaks my heart. I don't want him to feel like this is his fault, or that I'm angry with him in any way. I haven't confronted my wife yet. She left on a business trip and planned to spend 2 weeks with her family afterward. I have no idea how to process this or how to confront her. I don't even know where to start. Guys, I honestly think that this whole situation is beyond messed up. What would you do in OP's shoes? If you are enjoying these stories, please give it a like and subscribe. We are trying to reach our first 100 subscribers. Thank you, and let's go for our next story. Am I the jerk for telling my friend that I get why he's no longer invited on trips when he came to me upset? I am friends with Jack, a student, mid-20s. Jack is close friends with Dave, who is older than us and more established. He works in luxury hospitality, so he's able to get good deals and has all the connections. Jack was invited to join Dave in a holiday town about 7 hours away by train. Jack doesn't drive. The offer was, I'm available during these 4 days. You get your butt down here, and I'll handle the rest. I found out about it when Jack posted a countdown timer of the trip on Instagram. I was a little jealous but happy for him. It's an expensive place, and only having to pay to get there, and your best friend paying for the rest is wowza. Dave showed Jack the hotel, asked what restaurants Jack wanted to try, and got everything organized with Jack involved. This was a trip they were pumped for. This was June. The trip was for the very end of August. Jack posted 3 more countdowns on Instagram. But for everyone's shock, Jack never went because he waited until 9 days out to book his travel, and it was too expensive. Dave took it pretty well, considering he kept asking if Jack had bought this train ticket and had warned him about the dynamic pricing. So they decide to meet up at Dave's place in beginning November before Dave leaves for the winter to work. It's across the country, but it's only like 6 hours by direct train. Jack tells me about all the things Dave planned: a hot spring and spa day, hikes to some gorgeous lakes in the mountains, some very nice restaurants. They're beyond excited. Jack told me this weekend that he can't go because train tickets are too expensive again and it would eat one half his monthly budget. I asked what happened to the money that was saved for August, and he had spent it thinking he had enough time to save up for November. I explained that we're students, and all our holidays are during peak travel dates. Waiting the week before to book travel is always going to be more expensive. He just shrugged and said he thought it would be fine. Jack came upset because Dave isn't reacting to memes and videos as usual and hasn't given a concrete date or place for them to meet up next year. I just said that. I get it. If I were Dave, I would have been mad at Jack bailing just now, making it 2 times in a row. All Jack had to do for both trips was just get on a train to those places, and he couldn't do that. I said maybe Dave will let Jack know about a trip, but don't expect to be consulted about it anymore. I just don't get it. Jack has said several times now that he'll be at the next one, to the holiday town. But if he keeps bailing because he can't be bothered to buy tickets early enough, or can't even figure out how to get to the one train station in Davestown without asking a million questions, there won't be a next trip for Jack. Jack hasn't really talked to me since, and I wonder if I overstepped or was out of line. Maybe I should just have said, "Yeah, that stinks. You'll see what happens." But I feel that he needs a reality check. He is taking everything for granted, and now he may be in for a rude awakening. And for our next story, am I the jerk for canceling Thanksgiving dinner without telling my family first? So I, 30 female, am a single mom, and I currently live with my kids and my mom, who is also single. I always cook holiday dinners, as my mother can't cook. This would have been our 3rd Thanksgiving dinner. The issue isn't her lack of cooking. The issue is that she invites guests without telling me until the last minute. And she doesn't actually ask, because she will have already invited them and will tell me by posing it as a question. "Oh, by the way, I invited your," insert random family member, "to come for dinner. Is it okay?" Like, lady, you already told them to. So of course if I say no, it starts drama. She knows I dislike her family because they are all drama, including her, since she entertains it. So this year I have decided not to cook Thanksgiving dinner. She asked me the other day what was on the menu for this year, and I told her nothing and my reason why. She loudly said wow and then tried to guilt-trip me by reminding me this would be our last year living together. She is retiring and bought a house back in her home country. I told her she would live 30 minutes away driving distance. So she chills on the dramas, and also my kids and I will not be made to feel uncomfortable in our own house. She tried to deny we were uncomfortable, until I reminded her we spend the entire time in my room watching movies until they all leave. I didn't feel bad at the time, but a coworker of mine did say maybe I should have spoken to her about it instead of her finding out the way she did. I have never cooked with the intention of cooking for more than just the people who live in the same home as me. She will ask if I plan to cook, or if my kids will be with their father. When she learns that I am cooking, she will say she might stay home with us instead, only to turn around and invite her family. The first year she did it, she invited her mom, her stepdad, her sister, and her brother-in-law. I didn't even know her mom was in town until the day before. I told her it bothered me the first time she did it, but continued to do so every time I cook for whatever holiday. Her family is just super toxic. One of her sisters stole money from me, and I was called a liar. Wasn't believed until she stole thousands from a different sister. Never did I get an apology. Another sister accused my ex-husband of harming our children because she was mad I didn't clean her grown, able-bodied son's house for him, and I only cleaned the room I was staying in during the visit. Her mom is also a racist against us grandkids who are mixed with black, always treated us differently, or told us we should bleach our skin when we're kids. I could go on, but we would be here until Thanksgiving. I don't like them. They know it, and she certainly knows it too. She just likes to play the fool. So am I the jerk for canceling dinner without telling my mom first? Guys, I am surprised that OP haven't put a good distance between her and her mother yet. Tell me in the comments what would you do about this if you were in OP's place. And for our next story, my husband wants to spend Thanksgiving without me and our 2 kids. How do I get him to understand how upset I am? My husband, 33 male, and I, 29 female, were discussing going out of state to visit his sister for Thanksgiving. I was all for it, but quickly realized that because I'm a full-time college student, I won't be able to go as long as he wants. I offered to fly up while he drives there a couple days in advance and meet up, and then we drive down together. The conversation was left still in the wind. Then, about 2-3 weeks ago, he mentioned staying to save money, and I said okay. Today, his mother asked him about Thanksgiving, and he said he was still going with his older kids. He has 2 kids from a previous marriage. I didn't say anything then, but when we got home, we got into a big argument over it. He said he didn't tell me that he wasn't going to go. I asked him about taking all the kids, and he flat out said he didn't want to drive 10 hours with 4 kids, especially our youngest, 2 and 3. I suggested he take one and I fly with the other, which he also shot down because he'll be driving through the day. His oldest is a teenage girl, so worst case she could help out. And I suggested he drive partially through the night, so they stay mostly asleep, and he still said no. I feel very upset that he is okay with us spending Thanksgiving separately when there's clear options for us to be together. It feels like he doesn't want me to go. He told me I'm making this about myself and that he wants to go because his sister is moving to Hawaii in a couple months, and he won't be able to see her for a very long time. I told him that I understood that, but I still don't understand why he can't adjust slightly so we can go as a family and that his sister would want to see the babies as well. Then he tells me that she'll see them when she comes to visit in February, which makes me very mad because he was painting this picture as though this'll be the last time he sees her, except that he'll see her again very soon, actually. He's basically telling me that there's no other way for us to be there together when that's clearly not true. We could have even gone after Thanksgiving when I wrapped up my finals, but he won't hear that. I just can't comprehend his side because I would never want to spend a holiday without him or our kids, and he's so easily deciding to do just that. Edit. Just to bring light to the older sister helping out. The other child could help. I'm not trying to say that she should take full responsibility for either of our babies at all, and I fear people on here are assuming that, but that's because of how I wrote it. Trust me, I'm the oldest girl of my siblings, and I loathe having to feel like a second mom when I was younger. I don't even let her babysit or change diapers because of my own trauma. I meant more to just keep the baby entertained for a couple minutes if she happens to get fussy while he's driving. I really don't want people to think she's being used as some backup parent. That's never been the case. Both my stepkids love playing with the babies, so I was thinking more of just playing with them in the car, not babysitting. I would prefer greatly to actually go on the road trip and not fly for the record. When we discussed everything, I was just coming up with multiple possible solutions. And no, I don't think that he is having an affair, but I do think that he is being very selfish. And for our next story, am I the jerk for going off on my husband because he's unsympathetic that my best friend of 34 years died suddenly? I got angry and told him off. He fake apologized, and I refused to let it go. My, female 51, best friend, Ron, male 59, passed away suddenly 3 days ago. We have been best friends since I was 18, almost 34 years. We live in different states now, but had the kind of friendship where long distance didn't matter. Ron was always there for me. We could talk on the phone about anything for hours. He would have jumped on a plane and been there for me in a moment. My husband, Dan, male 61, been together 24 years, always hated Ron. Over the years, Dan would make fun of Ron, get jealous and mad when we talked, and even kicked Ron out of our house at 2 a.m. once when he visited. When I found out Ron died, I was quietly devastated. No hysterics. I didn't really want to talk about it. Ron and I had planned to be best friends forever. He was the only person I could truly trust 100% in this world. My husband is literally jealous, even though Ron is no longer alive. Dan said, "Well, you wouldn't care if my mom died. So why should I care about a guy you were friends with?" Which isn't even true about his mom. Dan has no close friends he has kept up with for so long. Dan acts as though I should be over this in 3 days and yells at me for being sad. He fought with me and acts extra mean. Also, we just got destroyed by Hurricane Milton. My brand new car is totaled, saltwater flooded. The roof of my house is messed up, and both insurance companies are trying to avoid paying. It's been a bad couple of weeks. I told Dan he was just jealous because Ron and I were so close. I never had any romantic thing with Ron, ever. We were strictly platonic friends. I also told Dan he was a poor excuse for a husband and is unempathetic, narcissistic, and possibly a psychopath. I am so angry and disappointed in Dan, and he fake apologized, but after 24 years, I know he doesn't mean it. He is now just ignoring it and trying to act like nothing happened. I refuse to let this go. I really expected more sympathy from my husband. Am I wrong to be heartbroken over my friend's sudden death? The community was pretty divided in the comments. Let's see some of them. Why was she hanging out with Ron at her house till 2 a.m.? I can understand why Opie's husband is upset if she's bringing men around the house well past midnight. Another person said, her husband knows he's in second place and has been this entire time. You don't need to tell him. He knows that even now, he is not a priority to Opie. Someone replied, I don't know. This husband doesn't sound trustworthy. I'm not saying you're wrong for pointing that out, but the solution might have been to leave her husband, not to trust him. Might still be. And for the last comment, my guy's best friend is a person I can trust 100%. My soon-to-be ex showed me time and again that he would let me down. And for our next story, am I the jerk for telling my husband his actions have consequences? Throwaway because I don't want this on my personal profile. My 37 female husband, 41 male, is on the spectrum. He is late diagnosed, so he has learned how to live life the hard way. We also take care of his mother, who has dementia. It has been incredibly stressful the last several years. He had to quit his job last year to become a full-time caretaker, and I'm now physically disabled. Because of the increased stress, he has had a hard time regulating his emotions when speaking to the office workers for his mom's doctors. He tends to swear at them and talk to them like they are stupid. I have told him time and again he absolutely cannot speak to them that way, and that if he kept it up, they were going to drop his mom as a patient. I do as much as I can, but when I'm not saying the things he wants me to say, he takes the phone out of my hand and starts to berate them. He keeps trying to tell me that's how he gets his point across. I told him that it's verbal abuse for stuff that is beyond their control, regardless of how he feels about the situation. Today it all came to a head. While, yes, the staff was being condescending, I could tell they were 100% done with his crap because they are usually incredibly accommodating and understanding of his frustration. So I didn't speak up this time and tell him to let me handle it. Well, they said they were going to drop his mom as a patient because of his actions and words and hung up. He was mad and told me to call them back. So I called and, thankfully, they spoke to me, and hopefully I have been able to smooth things over and will just have them speak to me. But they did say that if he gets involved in any way that they will absolutely be dropping her, and there is no coming back, even though she's been with this doctor longer than I even know. When I got off, he started yelling at me for being courteous, because he fully believes they were in the wrong, and I told him, don't get mad at everyone else when I have warned you time and again, to not speak to people that way. You cannot bully people to get your way, and then go all surprised Pikachu face when your actions come back to bite you in the butt. He didn't like that and decided that I was calling him a piece of crap, when that never came out of my mouth. Now he's on a walk without his phone, leaving me here to do damage control and try and figure everything out. And for our last story of today, am I the jerk for telling my brother I'm not going to see him again? I, 23 male, grew up with 4 brothers. There's 5 of us. I'm the very middle child. The brother who is just younger than me, Finn, 21 male, has been acting really weird towards my girlfriend, Georgie, 22 female, over the last 2 or 3 months. I've been with her for almost 2 years, and he's never been a creep about it before, but recently it's just been too much. It started off with the little things that I just kind of brushed off, stuff like touching her unnecessarily as he moved past her, things that you just kind of assume are in your head and don't take notice of. As time went on, it kind of got more, saying things to her like, you look so cute when you smile, or why don't we hang out alone more often? And having conversations with her where he just keeps asking her questions, and it doesn't feel like a very natural conversation, and she's clearly uncomfortable. These comments started after Finn broke up with his long-term girlfriend himself, and he's been single since. We talked about it before, but she said that she didn't want me to talk to him about it, but a week or 2 ago she asked me if I would. So I asked him to get some coffee with me, and I told him that he'd been making Georgie feel kind of uncomfortable and that I didn't like how he was acting around her either, and he apologized and said that he would stop. Yesterday, Georgie and I, as well as 2 of my brothers, including Finn, went around to my parents' house. I know Wednesday is an odd one for a family night, but it's always kind of been ours just to stay in touch. Not necessarily every week, but you get what I mean. And after dinner, we sat down to watch some TV together. I went into the kitchen while everyone else sat down to make myself a cup of tea. When I got back, Finn had sat next to Georgie on the sofa, put his arm kind of around her shoulders, while she clearly tried to move away from him, and he gave me this big grin and said, "Careful before I steal your girlfriend." I'd been in a kind of state of disbelief about the whole thing. It felt insensitive, especially considering I'd already talked to him about it. Georgie asked him to stop and asked me if we could leave, and so I said we would. I told Finn that I wasn't going to see him again until he sorted out whatever kind of issue he obviously has going on, and that he's out of line and making everyone uncomfortable with it. A couple of my brothers texted me after asking what was going on, why Finn was pissed off, etc. I told them the situation, and they said he was just joking around about it or whatever. I get that he might not be doing it in all seriousness, but I don't want to put me or Georgie in a situation where we both have to feel uncomfortable until his actions change, and we don't anymore. We don't usually fight as a family, and I don't want to have been too harsh on Finn, but I feel like his actions are out of line. Hey everyone, that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching until the end. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you saw and want to stay updated, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications bell. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when I release new videos, and you'll be helping to support the channel. So, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and let's keep this journey going together. Thanks again and see you soon.